So I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining me here on my channel. I'm more than grateful because so many of you have reached out to me for my journey and the fact that we might actually have an LGBT two-spirited pronoun syndicated show for us, and maybe I will be the host. We don't know. We're trying to see if this can work, but with prayers and the fact that you guys have fabulous stories about our community, hopefully we will get the platform that we need to make sure that our voices are heard. So today, like as you know, in the last few years, um, a lot has happened in the trans community. A lot of assaults, a lot of abuse, a lot of unsolved murders of our community. And I really wanted to address this issue. So I asked one of the performers, entertainers, prominent people in the LGBT community, trans community mainly, and to come on and talk about what does she think is actually happening and why it's happening in our community. So please welcome to my show today, Miss Desiree Demornay. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, you are.
Perfect. Now, can I just say to our audience, how do you identify?
I identify as female, she,
Okay.
her.
Okay.
Those are my
Now,
pronouns.
okay. Now, as you know, it's a great, I say this to a couple of the girls, it's a great honor to meet girls that I've looked up to for years in the Miss Continental pageant system and just around the world doing the shows and the pageants. Now, I'm finally getting up the courage to maybe I will try to do something in one of those contests. So I take my hat off to you for being a Miss Continental because you were fabulous the year that I saw you, and the fact
Thank
that
you.
you know you've done so much to help the trans community. And a lot of times we might not know these things because you know you don't know the girls directly, but it affects our lives. Like I'm meeting you now in person or on camera for the first time. But like I said, to somebody that I've looked up to for years, the Miss Continental has brought a lot of the trans women together. This is a great gathering place, meeting place, a place of celebration, and a place for us just to gather and, you know, have a good time, voice our opinions, show our talents, and show the world that we actually mean something in the world. Now, as you know, where are you living now?
I live in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay. What is the scene like out there for the trans community?
Well, this is an America, Miss Gay America based state. So,
Mhm.
you know, I'm probably one of maybe three, no, maybe four transgender women that are working as far as on the female impersonation scene. You know, they're very cliquish, but you know, it is what it is. That's anywhere you go. But you know, but they've been very good to me. I love living here. So, you know.
You know, sometimes, you know, we have to, people don't understand the difference between trans, cross-dresser, drag queen,
Oh
she-male,
yeah.
and, you know, all these different things. Now, what do you say about that? I mean, we can't try
Well, I
to,
think they're like it's just being misinformed, uneducated, because you know sometimes people, you know, they hear things in passing. You know, I've had someone call me a transvestite before, you know, and I was like, if
Mhm.
you go and Google what a transvestite is, you would know I am the furthest thing from a transvestite. So, you know, I just think it's being misinformed, and education is so important. A lot of people don't, you know, to take the time to go and educate themselves about the things that are going on in their own communities.
Mhm. Now, before we get into the subject tonight, I just want to try to set the baseline so people can understand that, you know, the trans community has always been there, whether they consider us drag queens, transvestites,
Right.
she-males, we've always been there in for the fight. And we've always been there either as their entertainers or raising money for different charities in our communities and other communities that needed our help. And we've always stepped out of our comfort zones to just help others and fit in. Now, as you know, we now have a base and a voice in television now and radio and on the main stage, and now we're on mainstream TV. And but yet mainstream TV still keeps trying to show the drag queen when it's mainly, we know as Americans that 80% of the performers in the US have some sort of surgical augmentation to look
Yeah.
more like a woman. So this means that the representation for us is not really represented on television in the mainstream. Like I'm saying, once again, here we are fighting to make sure that the trans community, who has always been there from the beginning, gets a voice. And now we have a syndicated talk show, and we have lots of gay celebrities that are just out. They do movies, they're making money, they're making a difference. But yet, the trans community still seems to be muted and not heard. And what do you think it is? Do you think it's that they're afraid that we look too much like women?
I personally believe it, like it goes back to what I said, like miseducation on what they think. You know, they've had uh, representation over the years that what they think trans women look like, and that's why they use drag queens in those roles. Or when they just have movies and it calls for a transgendered woman, they use a cis woman in the role to play a transgender woman, which I think is stupid because there's so many beautiful and talented trans women who are actresses or actors, you know, trans men as well, who deserve those roles. And you know, because of what they think and what, you know, I did a movie like in the late 90s. It was called Hair Do You. And they wanted me to butch it up, per se.
Oh,
And I, you know, and I try to tell them, either you want me in the movie or you don't. I'm not butch. So if you want
mhm.
to go and find some hard looking guy to be in this role, then you need to go and use that. Don't use me for that. And I was actually offended when they asked me. You know, they wanted me to deepen my voice and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, but see, I don't, you know, I'm not going to play those kind of roles for people. So I
Mhm.
just really feel like it's miseducation on their part. And I just feel like, you know, but we don't do anything in our community to help push it forward either.
Okay.
You
Now,
know,
as you know, the movies now with Billy Porter, and before that, Queen Latifah tried to do something with Star, introducing some of the trans women
yeah,
in that. Now, a few of the trans women in there did have sort of male voices in a sense. They didn't try to, change it too much. But for some reason, Billy Porter, the trans women in his have stepped up their game, I guess because they want to be recognized as real actresses.
yeah,
They've kind of catered because this is acting, so you can change your voices or make it seem like you've changed your voice when you are when you're acting. Now, what do you do? Now that for me is a step in the right direction. First of all, trying to include the girls,
right,
but this is not real Hollywood. Billy Porter is not Hollywood. We need people that are going to put the trans people in the right light. We need superstars that have a real voice like Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, people that are movers and real shakers in Hollywood to help the trans community. Now, um, I don't, for me, I think we're making some steps towards um, just a little bit of equality. We're
mm-hmm,
making some steps, but not enough steps. And I think that we're hampered by a lot of the false information that they think about trans women, that they're all escorts or prostitutes or
okay,
drug addicts or just have some mental illness because they feel that they shouldn't be a different gender, or they
correct,
don't feel like that person is in the right gender. Now, as you know, in the last few, I would say 20, 25 years, there has been a lot of unsolved trans murders by, I'm gonna just break it down because I watched it on Google. Black men murdering trans women. And
Correct.
this is something I don't understand because we know coming from the Black communities, there's always that one that they call the sissy in the
Yeah.
neighborhood, or the one that likes to wear women's clothes or dresses like a woman or dresses like a girl running around the neighborhood. We know this. Why is it? What do you think is happening with this epidemic of these murders? And now they seem to be ramped up again.
Well, I personally think for me, uh, the problem is that we've been conditioned as a Black culture. Um, we all know that transgenderism, we know for a fact that being gay has existed since the beginning of time. And
Mhm.
in some African cultures, they have where men are coming of age of being men. They have rituals that they do where it's just men, as they do with just women.
Mhm.
And what people don't realize is that when early in the Americas, when they were slaves were very important to our white brothers and sisters, when slavery existed, um, these white men who were bisexual or were gay and they wanted to prove their dominance, they had backbreaking. And they would, you know, do these sexual acts with these Black men who were slaves in front of their children and their wives to mock them, to embarrass them, and to shame them about their manhood and that they meant nothing, you know.
Mhm.
So that has been a part of the Black culture, and it has been instilled in Black men from generation to generation. And that most of the time, even though that being gay or being transgender has existed, these people haven't let that mentality go. They think it's a white man's thing, or that the white man did that to us, and that's the reason why we're that way. But what do you
Mhm.
say when the person is born that way? I personally believe that I was born this way. I don't think God makes mistakes. I think God put me here for the exact reason that I'm here. So, and
Mhm.
I also believe that if it wasn't meant for me to be a woman or be able to transition, the things, one thing I do know, what I believe about God is that if something wasn't meant to be, it wouldn't be a way to do it.
Okay.
And that's how I look at the situation. You know, um, a lot of these Black men, they are insecure about their sexuality. Some of them can't help that they like what they like, but they, like I said, they've been conditioned by, society and other men to, oh, that's, being gay, that is not right. That's not of God. That's not of this. That's not of that. And instead of just embracing who they are and say, I've been very fortunate. Like when I was with my husband, it's unfortunate that we're no longer together, but we're the best of friends. But what I loved about him is that he didn't care what anyone thought about him. And even when
Mhm.
he would be with his friends, and if they never knew, but now that we've gotten older and we're not together, people come and say, "You went with a transsexual," and he's like, "Yeah, I still love her," that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And that's the thing that is missing from our Black culture, is about embracing who we are as a people. If you can't embrace the person you love, how can you embrace someone seriously about what's going on in the community? And that's
Mhm.
been the problem. And I think it stems from slavery and being conditioned to think a certain way. Like in some cultures, like in Jamaica, slavery was so bad, that was such a, a horrible thing that happened to Black men in front of their families and their children. Like, to be gay in Jamaica is almost like, you're the demon of the earth. They
Mhm.
have gay children and transsexual children living in the gullies, living under bridges and sleeping, wherever they can. But these men are still having sex with them, beating them up, doing all this crazy stuff, and making life hard for us, for a certain culture that they don't have to do that to. If you just learn
Mhm.
to embrace and educate yourself on what is it like, we're not sick people. We're not people who have something going on in our brain that's not a chemical imbalance. I just feel like personally, I feel like sometimes that starts in the mother's womb, you know, with chromosomes, you know, and I just believe that I don't think it's our mother's fault or anything like that, but she might have been meant to have a girl child, but because there were so many male chromosomes, that's why the child was born male, you know, and that's
Mhm.
how I look at the situation. You know, even though the child you choose your gender as you find out who you are, you know, and a
Mhm.
lot of people don't believe that, but it's the truth. Your genitalia doesn't make your gender, you know,
Mhm.
and a lot of people don't seem to understand that, you know, and like I said, and then there's a lot of men out there who are love being with transsexuals, but they're afraid of what their family's going to think. They're afraid of what their friends are going to think, and so they rather kill us or hide the situation than deal with it head on about their own situations. Like I refuse to mess with a man who is I cannot be a booty call. I cannot be a midnight rendezvous. I cannot be someone that is a secret. I'm not trying to go out there and boast my business, you know, about who I am, but at the same time, don't disrespect me by with that, you know, with your own prejudice about what you think who you are, you know, and a lot of
Mhm.
men do that, you know.
Mhm.
That's just like everybody thinks that transsexuals are prostitutes, you know, escorts and things like that, but what they don't realize that there are a lot of women and men who are prostitutes and escorts as well.
Mhm. You know,
And
I'm sorry to cut you off. There's nothing wrong with being an escort and a prostitute if you're
there's
making
not
your money and you have to do what you have to do. There's nothing wrong with that. But you don't deserve to be murdered because you're an escort or a prostitute. You don't
exactly.
deserve to be murdered because of that. You know, I find it rather strange, Desiree, that, you know, my parents, I love them, but I'm going to say something that my mother probably would have slapped me for now, is that I used to always question her. They live by the church 24/7. We lived good. We had a good life. Our parents didn't deny us nothing, but they put every dime they had into the church and into God, which is there's nothing wrong with that, helping everybody else in the community. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, I never saw the preacher preach once about protecting the lives of the LGBTQ community, welcoming them, just having an open platform to where everyone is welcome. They say that, but as soon as you walk into the door, the preacher has this gay sermon coming towards your way.
Yeah.
It never fails. And mainly in the Black community, who are supposed to be devoted Christians. Now, this is what I never could understand. So, yeah, we know he's in the community, but now he's coming to church. Wouldn't you think that that should be an open platform for you just to, because they probably think you're going to come into church and, you know, I don't know what they're thinking. We know what
They're
they're
thinking
probably thinking.
demonic thoughts. They're thinking
Yeah.
demonic thoughts.
And one thing about, like you said before, about Black men, they don't want to first face the sexuality thing. Let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with sex. There's nothing wrong with sex at all. No matter how you get it, whatever way you like it, whatever. It's just part of who you are. But people don't deserve to be harmed because of just having sex, and just because of your sexual desires that you can't accept, you kill another human being because you thinking what society thinks or what your daddy said or your mama said or how you were conditioned. Now, what do you say? Why do you think is that, you know, the girls are aware of what's going on now? We're all aware of the trans murders. We hear about it all the time. What do you think the girls are missing that keeps them from protecting themselves every time? Because I know Black trans women, they fight back constantly. So I'm surprised they would be getting in situations to where they can have just a
They're
little
not
bit more
mindful.
control. Hmm?
They're not mindful of their situations. They don't pay attention. They don't ask the right questions. And then a lot of times, I personally believe a lot of these girls that have been murdered have been caught off guard. They were caught off their guard by, you know, somebody pretending to love them, somebody pretending
Mhm.
to care about them. You know, even the ones that have been out escorting or prostituting, you know, they put themselves in a predicament thinking like they're trying to make some money, get their hustle on, and then
Mhm.
the guy flips the script. He meddled
Mhm.
with you personally just to do something to you, even though you ask the right questions. But the thing about it is that you have to be mindful of situations. I'm just sorry, God gives you the most powerful thing, and that is your brain. And you should be catching those red flags and those whistles. You know, if you get that feeling, like it's just like when you meet a piece of trade, or people don't know what trade is, but if you meet a guy off the internet, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you get that tingle, you know, like for me, it's like when you go to a hotel and you look at the reviews. It's the same thing when you look at someone, go through their pictures. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I'm not talking to anyone that doesn't have a picture. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have a picture, that means I shouldn't be having conversations with you at all, because I don't know anything about you. You know, and I don't understand people meeting someone they've never seen, you know, especially in this day and age.
Me either.
But then also the catfishing has been astronomical. And my whole thing is that if you go out your way to catfish somebody, then that means that you are up to no good, and you're up to doing something wrong and hurtful and being malicious. A lot of girls are not paying attention to the red flags. Like you go through a guy's pictures and you see him in pictures with guns, holding marijuana, stacks of money, you know, those are red flags. You understand what I'm saying? Because any self-respect, not saying that those men are not respectful, but any self-respecting man for me is not going to be showing off that he's got money, he's got guns, he's smoking drugs, you know, all of these kind of things. If those are the kind of things that you learn after you get to know someone. And if they're already displaying that on there, that means they don't care about what people think. Because I think, you know, I've got friends who've gotten fired from their bosses going on their social media pages, and they're passing drug tests, but you're clearly they're smoking marijuana, and they're trying to figure out how you passing this drug test. It's the same thing. It's a red flag, you know, and people have to pay attention to that. You know, there are some men who will do harm to you just because of who you are. And it's like I was just saying to someone the other day, I understand what's going on with the cis Black men and the police. So if you're saying that Black Lives Matter, I am for that, because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter. But all Black lives can't matter until you understand that all Black lives matter. That includes everybody in the LGBT plus community, and also trans men and trans women. And so that has to be something that has to be established. You know, I was a part of the Black Lives Matter, and I received maybe 15, 20 messages telling me that this is not the time, don't be decisive, you know, we're not trying to divide. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I wasn't trying to divide, but trans lives do matter, and I'm Black. So am I not a part of that umbrella? You know, and if I'm not a part of that umbrella, then why should I be marching for a cause or speaking on a cause that doesn't reflect me? I feel like it's the same fight all over again, because most like with our gay community, there was a transsexual and a drag queen who threw the first rock. There was a, you know, and they were Black. You understand what I'm saying? We've been fighting the good fight for a long time. And I tell my white gay brothers and sisters and my Black gay brothers and sisters, it's because of a woman like me that you're able to walk down the street holding someone's hand and kissing in public.
You
but
know,
when we were fighting for those rights, they didn't, I guess we wasn't fighting for our own. I thought we were in that umbrella as well. You know, all these things that we've been doing to ensure that the gay community is okay and that we have all these rights, and then the rights don't apply to us, transgender folks.
Now, you know, let's go back just one step. You know, this is what it gets my goat every time. When Black men, or you see the men on TV who have been taken to prison, or they pull them in front of the courtroom, the first thing they say is, I didn't know it was a man. They didn't tell me they were a man. Now, you
That's
know,
a lie.
I believe that's a lie.
It is a lie.
It's a lie.
That's why we have a lot of beautiful, exceptionally beautiful trans women and men. We do. But I don't know, you know, I've hung around some transsexuals who don't believe in telling their business. I get that. So don't hang around me, because if a man comes on to me and he wants to buy me a drink, I'm not accepting his drink. I'm not going nowhere with him unless he knows 100% what he's getting himself into. It's not for everybody. and he's being
Mm-hmm.
deceived. Like I try to tell, like most men that, oh, I'm not gay, I'm not into that faggoty stuff and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if you came on to me and you're attracted to femininity, you liked my hair, you like the way my breasts look or how I'm shaped, then you like women.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I don't identify with the fact that you want to call me, gay, or even though I feel that I'm gay, but I'm not. I'm still trans. I'm a transgendered woman. I
Mm-hmm.
belong in the gay community because that's my community. That's where I
Yeah.
feel most comfortable with. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but you're not gonna call me those things when you don't understand what you're getting yourself into. If you
Mm-hmm.
educated yourself, you would understand that if you're attracted to all these feminine things, then what's between my legs shouldn't matter unless you decide that it matters.
Now, that's true. That is so true. Now, what do you think? What do you think really needs to happen to really wake these people up that are committing these murders on these trans women, or that to wake the government and the police department up to make them pay more attention to these unsolved murders?
Well, they don't care about us. And that's the point. That we're already living in a society where they're trying to eradicate Black. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
a Black person killing another Black person, to them, you did our job for us. We don't have to do it. You understand what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And they've already conditioned you in your mind that, okay, that's what we used to do to you. So in your mind, you're thinking it's wrong because that's what someone did to you. It's just like molestation or being raped. These men were molested and raped by these white slave owners, and it's been passed down from generation to generation, from backbreaking and saying that being gay is wrong, being sleeping with a man is wrong, or sleeping with a transgendered woman or a transgendered man is wrong. So they've been conditioned to think this way for hundreds of years. So it's a fight. So we have to
Mhm.
really, when I meet any man or any woman and I have to educate them on, it's my goal and my duty to educate them. I used to be the show director at Hamburger Mary's in Florida for about 6 years. And I never forget, I was in the bathroom. I just washed my hands, and these young women had come in the bathroom, and it's like, oh my God, the queens are in the bathroom, but you came to see me. And I had to tell, I didn't say anything to them in the bathroom. I waited till I got on the mic, and I just said it like this, because they were about to pass a bathroom law about transgendered people, male and female.
Mhm.
And I just told them, I said, well, do everybody in here think I'm pretty? And everybody screamed, yeah, yeah, yeah. I said, well, does everybody in here think that I'm a woman? Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so if you think I'm pretty and that I'm a woman, which bathroom do you think I should be using?
Mhm.
And it got quiet. And then the reason why it got quiet, because although you think I'm beautiful and that I'm a woman, you still believe that I belong in the men's bathroom. So
Mhm.
I said to them, I said, I have no problem using the bathroom. I said, and for any woman that has a problem with a queen or transgendered woman using the restroom, you are sadly mistaken. Most 99% of transgendered women think they're women.
Yeah,
They're not into
that's
women.
true.
They're not trying to sleep with you, mama. They're not trying to
Mhm.
look at your coochie. They're not trying to see your vagina. They're not trying to see any of that. We go in the bathroom, tinkle, wash our hands, and get out. We're not in
Mhm.
there to mingle. Now, I said there's a different type of thing going on in the men's bathroom. The DL stuff has been going on in the men's bathroom for years. So I
Yes.
said, if a
Yes.
man who's into a transsexual but can't let you know any transsexual, and now transsexuals are using the bathroom, that's going to become a different type of place. So if you
Mhm.
in the bathroom with your man, I don't have a problem with
Now, I'm glad you said that. When they were talking about putting up another washroom, I thought, how disrespectful. That means that you are now trying to, um, once again, move us aside.
that. Yeah.
Once again, there's no need for nothing but a male and a female and a disabled
I
washroom.
have never
That's all there
understand
is.
male or female bathrooms anyway, because when you're at home and you have a family Everybody
Mhm.
uses the same bathroom, whether you're a
There you
girl or a
go.
boy.
There you go.
And I have never understand women's restrooms and men's. I have never understood that in the first place. But if I identify as a woman and I go to use the restroom, I'm not in here trying to pick up somebody. Now, I do remember when I was a boy queen
Mm-hmm.
going into the men's bathroom and men trying to watch my butt or watch to see what I'm holding. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And you can pick up on when a man is trying to pick you up.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, if you're in there doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're not supposed to be making eye contact at someone's private parts anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what happens.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's miseducation again. These people are misinformed. Our Black community, when you are a Black man or a Black child, a Black male child, as a kid, you're taught, don't cry. You being a sissy. You understand what I'm saying? You don't sleep
Mm-hmm.
with men. That's being a sissy. You know what I'm saying? You got to
Mm-hmm.
provide for your woman. You got to provide, and all these kind of things. And my whole, what I think is an injustice that with these people's thinking is that, so you tell me that the way I'm living my life is wrong. You tell
Mm-hmm.
me that I need to go and be with a woman. You know what the injustice is that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, okay, say for instance, I cut all my hair off and I go and be with a woman, I'm going to be doing a disjustice to her because she's never going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to make her happy. She knows, women that stick with men who are gay or that's transgender, kudos to the ones who really love their mate, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Nothing wrong. But especially with Black women, not going on.
Oh, no.
If you like dudes, she don't want to be bothered with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you got that as an issue, she don't want that issue. She
Mm-hmm.
can take you being a drug addict before she can take you being gay. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just the truth of the matter.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's just say that, when I looked at all the murders, I tried to see um, um, the young people. It was young people that were committing these murders, and you would think they were between 17 and 30 years of age. I just saw something about some trans boy went and met some trans woman in Mexico and murdered her, left her house. Everything was good when he left. He went home, put a mask on, came back and shot her just because he said he couldn't get her out of his head. Stupid stuff like that. But
Yeah.
when I went back on Google to really look at some of the pictures of the criminals that have murdered these innocent trans women, and they are children. A lot of them are just children.
They're being taught. There's a difference in community that is going on. We live in two Americas now.
Mm-hmm.
Old America is trying to reestablish what they feel and think with what is going on in America and trying to reward back to the way that it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, children who are born in the projects or are born in the ghetto per se, and the ones
Mm-hmm.
who are killing the transgender women, they knew that these were transgender women.
Mm-hmm.
They liked the fact that they were transgender women, but the problem is they have their community from where they come from, their families or the men in their family have instilled in them that this is wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
rather have their secret exposed, they rather do that. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying? And then they use the excuse, I didn't know. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I tell people like a lot of the women that they have killed, I would say 40% of them were
Mm-hmm.
overly believable.
Okay.
You understand? The other ones were
Mm-hmm.
not.
Okay.
Nobody can tell someone how to their transition. You can't tell someone that they're, I guess I don't want to say is that you can't be disrespectful of someone's transition, no matter
Mm-hmm.
how they look. Some are
Mm-hmm.
passable, some are not. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us aren't. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you knew what you were getting into when you got into that situation.
Okay.
And a lot of these men who don't want to, remember that they were gay. And the thing that they think about is so ironic to me. go and kill this transgender woman. If they get caught, then they go to jail, and then they get turned out.
Yeah.
They become something totally different. You know what I'm saying? But in the fact is that if you are in love with a transgender woman or you like being around transgender women, you have to first ask yourself, what is it about this transition of this person that I like? What is it about this person that do you respect me? And then it goes into, if this is a fetish or this is just something you feel like you want to do, you don't know why you're doing it, then you probably shouldn't do it if you don't know why you're doing it. And it always has bothered me when I've had men that tell me, try to mess with my psyche, to tell me, oh my God, I wish you were a woman for real. I wish you could have babies. And I'm thinking to myself, you say you wish I was a woman for real. You wish I could have babies. But the first thing you put your mouth on was with the genitalia.
Yeah.
So you can't possibly wish that I was those things if that's what you like doing. So you're telling yourself to psych yourself out that that's what you should be feeling, but that's not what you're really feeling. That's just like a lot, like what's scary, not me, but I would say about 80% of transsexual women are tops. And it's hilarious to me. You would think, okay, they want to be a one. And I say how you get off is however you get off, that's your business. But that these men that are attracted, like I had a girlfriend who went and had sex change. They were together for 15 years. She went and had the sex change, and then he left her. And I told her, she was all upset and crying because they've been together. They've been through so many things together. I said, he was being supportive of you because he loved you. But the thing that he fell in love with you about, you took away.
Yeah.
So you are now just a regular woman to him. You are not the person that he was in love with anymore. You took, and I said the problem was when you did that, you took something that he felt that made him comfortable.
And something that he felt was more important. He thought was more important.
Yeah, and I just, and that's the kind of stuff that I was talking about, where it's the miseducation, like a lot of men that sleep with transsexual prostitutes. He gets with her because of the fact that she has that. I've had girls that went and got vaginas and with prostitutes, and it's like, I don't make any money anymore. Like, well, you're just a regular old girl now to them. You're just a female, They got with you because of that situation that you were in. You were this beautiful woman and you had something extra.
Okay. Now I just want to do, we're going to wrap it up soon here. I want to just say you're a great inspiration. You shared a lot of insight. What do you think, can you leave just a message how trans women should protect themselves, what they should be looking out for, and just in fact, just to make sure that they are safe, no matter how they're trying to orchestrate their lives, whether they're escorting, hustling, whatever the situation is, or just trying to work a normal drag job, but yet she needs a piece of trade that night and she might get into the wrong car, these kind of things. What's your advice to the girls?
My advice to every transgendered woman and man, it is okay with you to be who you are and what you are, but we must be mindful of every situation that we put ourselves in. Like for me, what I do to ensure that my safety is, someone needs to walk me to my car, see me get in my car. Also, if I meet a piece of trade or a man off the internet, I'm sending 3 or 4 of my closest friends this person's information, his picture, his phone number, the location that we're going. And I even let the person know that who I'm seeing with. I say, I understand that you may be DL, but I sent your number and your picture to my friends. So in case anything happens to me, they know exactly where I was going and what I was doing. Smart. I do the same thing if I invite someone into my home, and most of the time I don't do that. I feel like that it's nothing wrong with meeting someone in a public place. And if a person can't meet you in a public place, they don't need to be meeting you in your private place. And I just feel like that is something that we all have to do collectively. You have to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you are mindful of your surroundings. Ask the right questions, because even a DL man is that doesn't want anyone to know his business. He's gonna be okay with making sure that you're making sure that you're safe. So he's gonna be like, okay, if this person's trying to make sure that they're safe, that is more of a spark for them to feel like that their business is not going to be in the street. Although you may
Mm-hmm.
have given their picture, and this person doesn't know them from a can of paint, so they're not going to
Mm-hmm.
be putting this person's business in the street. And I
Mm-hmm.
always say what's done in the dark always comes to the light anyway. So we just have to be mindful of how we handle ourselves in the public. I think the hardest thing for me, been for me, is to date because I am an entertainer. You know,
Mm-hmm.
most men don't want to date me because they call me Miss America. They say, I don't want to be with Miss
Mm-hmm.
America. Too many people know you. You know, my social platform is too big for them. You know, and I'm thinking I'm a public figure, but I'm a very private person. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and so I wish I never did understand that, but I get it now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you know, and even sometimes when you even do all the right things, sometimes stuff still happens. You know what I'm saying? But you still
Mm-hmm.
have to be mindful. Because I just had a situation a month ago where I asked all the right questions, was dating the guy, you know, and then he attacked me. You know what I'm saying? After
Mm-hmm.
hanging out with me for 3.5 weeks, getting to know me, opening doors, fixing me breakfast in bed and things like that. And then one day he just all of a sudden clicked and, you know, within himself because
Mm-hmm.
he, you know, and it's weird because now he's receiving help. You know, he's talking to somebody because he, you know, and I'm like, in my mind, I don't have to talk to you ever again. You
Mm-hmm.
showed me who you was, but I'm okay with being his friend now. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I told him, I said, but in that instance, you could have taken my life and thought nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what bothered me, is that you were somebody that I was starting to care for, and I was like, oh, this can't be true. He's too good to be true. And sure enough, he was too good to be true. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because you were dealing with your own mental psyche about what you thought, which I didn't understand because I wasn't the first transgender woman that he's, you know, been involved with. So I'm thinking to myself, what did you do to these other women? If you did that to me, what did you do to them?
You know, Desiree, it's great that you're putting out this great information. Now, I have to say this because Perry brought it up to me in a conversation. Now, what do you say to Black men or just men in general? Because as we know, as the girls, trans porn has almost overridden normal porn. Most men don't like watching normal porn anymore. They are
They
watching the
don't.
female porn and the trans porn.
But you know, that is, believe it or not, the people who make trans porn or gay porn, what they have
Mm-hmm.
done is that when you go and you see previews of what you're about to watch, the straight
Mm-hmm.
porn, they show you all it's to entice you,
Mm-hmm.
to make you curious, and that's what has happened. So a lot of men that watch straight porn, they like, oh man, fast forward, and then one day they ain't caring about fast forward. They like looking
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, they're turned on by it. And they
Mm-hmm.
want to see it, which has helped. Also, another thing that has helped men who are having these issues with themselves, they've gotten their women involved. Their women are
Mm-hmm.
now into, what did they call that? Pelting. Well, I forget what they call it when the men are
Pegging.
pegging. Yeah, that's what it's called. When men are into pegging, you know, they used to say, a
Mm-hmm.
man used to be like, don't touch my butt, don't put your tongue down there, don't do that. Now
Mm-hmm.
I see more straight porn where men are getting that done by women, transgender people, you know, and gay men. And I was like, it's just the bisexual revolution has happened,
Okay.
per se. And, you
Now,
know,
now, I just want to say, I want to thank you for being candid about it because you're the type of person that I like talking to because I'm very direct. And you were very direct, and I like talking to direct people because we need the right answers and we need to make sure that when people are listening to us, it's the truth. And it's from experience and it's from the mere fact of what we watch and see every day. And to our brothers, to our trans brothers and sisters out there, and just in general to the gay community at large, we need to be mindful of our hookups. We need to be mindful of our surroundings. We need to be mindful of us just being on the internet and being sexually explicit or just inviting people into our homes and into our
Yeah.
lives that we
If a
have
person
not
sees you eager,
taken
that's a
time
red flag.
to understand. So I just want to say thank you so much. You were
Thank you for having me.
amazing today, and you gave me some great insights, and hopefully we're going to help some of the girls out there. So ladies, Desiree's advice is be mindful, check the information, check those pictures, check and see if they have a history. Make sure, just be smart. Don't be just jumping into people's cars. Make sure somebody knows where you're going, and make sure that you know who you're meeting.
Yeah.
And be careful. Making $1 is not worth your life.
It's not.
Smart. Be smart. We know you need to make some money, and we know this is not going to stop you from jumping into those cars and doing all this and doing all that. But just be smart and be careful. And so, Desiree, thank you so much for talking to us today about Trans Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, and nothing can be accomplished until we first figure out and make sure that all Black lives matters, and then we can get to the root of what all the underlying issues are about trans lives, gay rights, this, that, so many things to talk about and to try to figure out along the way. But one thing is good about all of this is that we have a movement going now. And it's great that, like I said in my last conversation, maybe this pandemic.
We can't give up because it's newsworthy right now. It has to continue to go because now it's so far ahead that if we stop now, because they want to arrest some people, they're arresting these people, but they're not convicting them. And that's where the problem is. That's just like this thing with George Floyd. I am praying that, the riots have stopped, the looting has stopped, and the people are still upset. But what I'm afraid of is that if these men are not convicted of what our country, especially in the United States, what it's going to look like after these men have received their sentence or no sentence. And that's going to tell the story of the country and what's going on.
Okay. Well, hopefully in November, there are going to be some changes.
Vote, people, vote. Get out there and get registered to vote.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Desiree, so much for such a great insight on the trans murders around the world and just to hold your voice about the LGBT community and your thoughts on just helping the girls protect themselves and the fact that we've lived, and hopefully people will learn from the mere fact that we've experienced a lot of these terrible things about our people and the mere fact of just people that we work with all the time. I miss a lot of the girls that I know were murdered, and some of them, were in my contests or I hung out with all the time, and I miss them and I think about them, and some of those murders are unsolved, but hopefully we're going to get some attention to make sure that, keep the pressure up, we're going to get some of these murders solved and bring those people to justice, and hopefully they will serve the time for their crime that they have committed against people that were innocent. And maybe I'm saying it wrong. Maybe some of the situations weren't as innocent, but it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't matter. A life is important. You don't steal someone's life.
You can't be murdering people because of their sexuality and because you feel like, okay, I made a mistake. It doesn't work. So I just want to say thank you for a great conversation today. And remember, people, everybody's life matters. And we're not going to stop until you recognize that Black Lives Matters and everything underneath that matters as well. So I just want to say thank you, Desiree demornay from Phoenix, Arizona. And we will talk to you again, and have a great weekend.
You too, my love.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.